Welcome to the Kamookster. Now today, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're starting a new form of content, and this is going to be the Wattpad stories. Earlier this week, I was scrolling through Reddit, and I found the Wattpad subreddit, and I was like, yo, this could be an interesting way to make more content, just reading people's Wattpad stories and shouting them out. So that's what I did. I made a post saying that I am a small-time 50K YouTuber, and I'm looking for stories to read. I'm looking for new interesting stories to read for my fans and see if they like it. Expose people's Wattpad stories to more eyes. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. So today, we're doing Wattpad horror stories from BibblieSox, but they're called Hooves. All right, they're very interesting horror stories, like existential stuff, supernatural, urban horror fictional stories, dude. And low key, they're kind of gas. So yeah, go read his book. Don't just watch the video. Read ahead, read his book, and subscribe to my channel. Like and subscribe if you like it. And we're just gonna be doing this for the next couple of weeks or so until it's all been read out here. So yeah, we'll see. Coco Hooves, Chapter 1. A Catalyst. Charlotte chugged her coffee as she jumped out of her car and rushed to the school. Her hair fell out of the bun and stuck to her sweaty face. She had never been late to work. Ever. She was horrified when she saw her alarm clock that morning. She could be fired for this. Kindergarteners are not like other students. They need supervision. She could see their little faces in her mind, scared and wondering where their teacher was. She burst through the front doors and sped-walked to her classroom. She dug through her bag looking for her teaching materials. She rounded the corner of the hall and slowed her pace. It was quiet. Too quiet. Chills ran down her spine as she cautiously walked to her room. They definitely had school today, right? She tried to look into the windows of other classes as she walked, but their shades were drawn. She stopped outside of the door to her class. I'm just off because I'm late. She inhaled and opened the door. The room was completely dark. The shades had been drawn in there too. She tried the light switch, but nothing happened. She stepped into the room and checked her phone. Maybe there was an email that she missed? She walked over to the windows to open the shades. Her hands left bright streaks as they slipped against the window, letting in soft red sunlight. She brought her hand up in horror and gazed at the hot liquid. Blood. She jumped when she noticed the noise. It sounded like somebody was walking in mud. Excuse me! Her voice trembled as she called out. There in the back of the classroom, she made out a silhouette of a man. In the small streaks of sunlight, she saw the bodies of her students. They were piled up on top of each other, lifeless. The man tossed the body that he was devouring into the pile, looking at the woman with his pale, glowing eyes. Her feet moved on their own as she fled the classroom. Her heels caused her to twist her ankles, but she kept running, ignoring the pain. She whipped out her phone in an attempt to dial for help. Her heels slipped and face hit the floor. Her phone slid far out of reach. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she attempted to get up. Her feet got tangled in her skirt, preventing her from getting any traction. She scanned the hall for her phone. Through her blurred vision, she saw something strange. Like the opposite of a flashlight, there was a darkness enveloping the halls. It looked like an ink blot. Giving up on standing, she crawled toward it, trying to get to her phone. She reached out a hand. She was almost there. She froze in terror. From the ink blot, she saw something crawl out. Like gears clicking into place, its angular limbs jolted with each movement. Its gears could only be described as an anthropomorphic hog. Charlotte scrambled to get away, flailing her limbs in a poor army crawl. In front of her stood the man that she had seen from earlier. The same dark aura permeated the air around him. She looked between them, hopelessly sinking in her gut. The creature behind her jumped forward faster than light. It dug its sharp claws into her legs. The man ran over to her, swaying as if he was drunk, and violently yanked at her arms. They ate her, not waiting for her screams to silence. Venice, Italy. Mrs. Barry, look at this, an assistant cried, bursting into Fiona's office. She was out of breath, and her voice was frantic. What happened? Fiona said, putting down the teacup she was drinking and peering over to her readers, unfazed by the sudden entrance. Ianis is awake, the assistant said, putting down the stack of papers that she had been holding. We have reports From our agents in Japan. Fiona glanced down at them, her eyes widening. She stood abruptly and picked up her papers. The assistant watched anxiously. What do we do? Her voice was trembling. Fiona paced the room. Giannis. Fuck, she muttered under her breath. She whipped her hand towards the assistant. Call Christopher now. The assistant nodded and hurried out of the room. Fiona's steps quickened as she flipped through the papers. It got worse and worse the more she looked. Portals are opening. Corrupt energy pools. She flipped through them faster. Some papers went flying. A surge in vagrants. Fiona exhaled slowly. Wonderful. A stern expression hardened her features. She stopped pacing and stood in front of her desk. Fuck! She slammed down her papers and bit her nails. It's only a matter of time before we start seeing more possessions, she said between her fingers. Fiona grabbed her tea and gulped it down. The door flew open once again. This time it was Christopher. His eye patch was crooked, his scars peeking out beneath it. Fiona, what the hell is going on? The tall man rushed in, reeking of cigarettes. Just look. Fiona gestured to the pile of papers. Christopher read them and started coughing. What the fuck? He held them up to get a better look. He read graphs outlining dangerous surges in powers, especially in Hokkaido. Do you think someone made a pact with him? He asked. Fiona walked over to Christopher and pulled a cigarette out of his jacket pocket. She brought it to her lips, waiting for him to light it for her. Prayed to Arcana that no one did. She took several puffs. We have to leave as soon as possible. What did the Japan board say? They're overwhelmed with vagrants. Her voice was grave. A whole school of children taken out in a single day. Christopher shuddered as he continued reading. It looks like there will be more possessions. He adjusted his eye patch and scratched at his beard. I think so. James says Rena is putting all of her efforts into another case, forcing newer agents to deal with her other cases. Of course she is, Christopher said. We'll send in our own recruits. Fiona finished her cigarette and put it out on her desk. And Giannis? Christopher put down his papers and sighed. Prepare for a fucking catastrophe. She leaned on the desk and dropped her head between her shoulders. Do you think they'll send Damien? Probably not. They'd go bankrupt if they tried. Christopher lit a cigarette for himself and puffed on it thoughtfully. The air brimmed with anxiety as Fiona pulled her head up slowly. We'll have to convince Rena. They both looked at each other with hopeless expressions. And that's going to do it. That's going to be part 1 of Coco Hooves. Chapter 1, A Catalyst. If you want to read more, go read it on Wattpad. Again, it's by BibblieSox. That's BibblieSox. On Wattpad, titled Coco Hooves. It's a horror story, and it's got a lot of content for us to cover in the later days or weeks, you know. Looks to be about 20 chapters with follow-up content. And yeah, I'm just going to read it over the time and see if you guys like it. Hopefully it gets a little bit of a following over here, and that person gets to have some traffic on their page. Yeah, I'm doing this for 2 other properties. One of them is a romance, and one of them is a superhero franchise. So that might be awesome too. Be sure to check out those videos. So as I said before, please like, subscribe, and if you want to see more, just keep following these posts or just read ahead for yourself from the Wattpad, as I said before. Alright, thanks for watching, and stay scheming or keep dreaming. I've been the Kamookster.
Colossians chapter 2, verse 1. I want you to know how hard I am contending for you, and for those that are at Lasea, and for all those who have not met me personally.